Computing and Informative Systems from the University of London. He also received an MS in Geoinformatics from the University of West Indies. His research revolves around automated detection and mapping of slums. So without further ado, please welcome Ron.
Thank you. And this in no way competes with previous presentation by Ryan, because I mean, that was absolutely awesome. But this is more than just internet competition. This is just my way of getting information across in terms of what I'm passionate about. So my work is on slums. And, you know, a lot of people, we see it in the media, we see it in social media, news, headlines, whatever. You know, these people are suffering. Now, I bet most of you come in this morning, you get up off bed, you know, you got a shower, you brush your teeth, you have a nice meal, you basically, you have a good life, you know? It's, you have a drink of water, maybe you have coffee, you have a sandwich, maybe you have tea. There are people not that fortunate. That's important for us, because they're people. And we really have some challenges with it. Presently, and just moving on, United Nations estimates that about 1 billion of these people are in existence today. That's an estimate. That's not necessarily correct, because data sources are really troublesome. Actually capturing this information, which is really the goal of my sort of research, and I'll sort of go into that in a bit more depth. Again, extreme poverty. Vulnerable communities, you know, what affects us, it really affects those people. So if there's a minor flood, you know, fine, we can recover, but no issues at all. But these people have nothing. Some of them literally have nothing at all. Poor living conditions, look at those images there. You don't want your kids to be waking up in the morning, and if you look at that bottom image there, that's your playing field. That's not right. It's a growing problem. We try as much as we try to solve the problem, it becomes bigger, it becomes explosive. And you know what? It's part of the reason is because we're trying to solve the problem without reliable information. All right? Oh, there we go. For the most part, a lot of these places are black holes. They exist, but then again, they don't exist because we don't really spend time to actually put resources in there or really fix the problem. So what happens? They get very big and they're increasing. So this is actually my problem here. And this is, in fact, this is all of our problems. That image on the left, where you see, what you'll see with the world map there is basically map locations, estimates of slum population. That's your typical map for slums. My question is, where's the slum in that? That's country level data, right? That's fine. You know what? Let's do better than that. Let's actually get disaggregated data. You know what? That's enumeration districts. That could be a state, that could be a province. Those places are like maybe 100 kilometers, square kilometers or even greater. Where is, it's literally finding a needle in a haystack, right? Whether there's a disaster, because of that very low coping capacity, where are those people? Are they somewhere in 100 square kilometers? But they're the people that first responders need to get to. They're the people in need. They're the people that need our support. Now, we have two main approaches for collecting the information. We have census approaches. We're all familiar with that, right? That in itself is an issue. Cost, expensive, and it's growing exponentially. The cost is increasing. Time, remember you have to get foot soldiers in the ground to actually go house to house and literally harass, annoy people to get information. And by the time you collect that information, it may be useless. Because, for example, in Manila, the last estimate was that slum dwellers were increasing at about 60 persons per hour. You can imagine after 1 year what happens. It's not only the same area, the problem grows. They basically move to other locations. We can't fit in one present location. Coverage. Well, they're collecting information on these people. A lot of these people are, there's, you know what, some of these places, to be honest, it's unsafe. So large criminal syndicates that basically exist there. Would you go in there and actually knock on somebody's door with an AK-47? No. So we don't always get this information. We don't get information from some of these places. And apprehension, this is really a big deal. Because if I'm not supposed to be there, why am I going to tell you that I am there so you could come back with authorities and evict me? No. So people are afraid that you're going to use the information against them. So that would census. Now, since 1999, with the launch of the Iconos, the GeoI platform, we started to collect high-resolution imagery, and everybody knows about Google it, right? We could go in, zoom in, see some really colorful pictures. That's a picture of Kibera. That's a very unique place. On an image, you could basically tell there's something going on there. That's like if you want to compare it to tumor or cancer, it separates from the environment. But there's some very particular patterns you can see there. Obviously, it's irregular in shape. Features, if you look at, there's no vegetation. There's a reason for that, because if there's no building standards, people sort of fit into all little pockets, and there's no basically they remove vegetation, or vegetation becomes so very compact that there's almost no existence. All right? And so we can collect these physical parameters, but look at the image at the bottom. There's a host of activity that takes place inside there. You can't penetrate that. That's like a thick canopy there. We have a forester here. I mean, he could give us some ideas about that. All right? So what do we do? So we have information, very aggregated. We collect it once every 10 years, which is not good. But then we can get information probably once a day, a few times a day. But we don't have information on the underlying characteristics of the population from that. So my research is obviously a lot more complicated than this, but this is just a simplified view of what I'm working on. So we have remote sensing and we have social data. So my idea is that, okay, since we have remote sensing, let's take information from that and combining with social data. Now the real challenge there is in the social data aspect. Serious open, that socioeconomic proxy stuff, that's a hell of a thing. If you try to get information from third world countries, you will realize it's like pulling teeth. If they have it, they don't want to give you. If they want to give you, they don't give you sometimes too at the same time. It's really hectic. And for reasons that, they may not have the resources, the data may not be appropriate. The information from a small island in the Caribbean, we collect our we have data sets way back to 1976 that we are still using to do site suitability. And we are an oil-rich country. Imagine places in sub-Saharan African belt, what happens there? So the idea would have been, okay, so we can't get that information. What could we then use? Let's ask questions. Let's work backwards. I'm using the UN Habitat definition of slums, and from that, I'm asking my questions. Okay, if these people don't have water, they have to be getting water from somewhere. What about we go back, ask that question, and see where resources are coming from? If you go to OpenStreetMaps, you'll actually look for that Kibera resident, that Kibera little map here. There's a bunch of these little areas crowded. So I'm basically asking those things. If you don't have adequate sanitation, where do you get it from? I just told I had 2 minutes. Just wrapping up. So essentially what I'm doing is actually merging those two together, and actually I'm creating a probability map. So the probability map basically tells me that if all the indicators are there, there's a high probability it's a slum. If not, then fine. Then you monitor that area, and if it changes, it goes from, let's say, green to red or increases in probability, then I know that I could actually intervene or actually send resources on the ground to that particular area to actually treat the problem while it's still solvable. We don't have infinite resources to put on the ground, but we could actually use a strategy like this to really direct or appropriate resources better. And again, benefits are many. And just closing up, open source. This is fully open source that I'm working on. Think about disaster management. Think about aid and disbursement. Think about having a metric to compare the problem as a global issue. And again, it's only one of us to do so. And this is my last slide. Slums will always be there. They were there from before, and they will continue to be there after. We need to do as much as possible to basically treat the problem And we need to help because it's human of us, and we should. Acknowledgements and, okay. 30 seconds. Just acknowledge my committee members who work so hard and they're very patient with me. And lastly, this quote just sort of hits with me. Islam is the measure of civilization. There's nothing more truthful than that. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed our presentation.